It's the Charlotte Soccer Show World Cup banter, and it's day 5. How you doing, everybody? This is your boy Danny Brams on the mic in Charlotte, repping for the crown as always. And it's a Thanksgiving edition. Happy holidays. And I have had a great day of hanging out, eating good food, watching World Cup action. There's NFL on now, and it's time to talk some soccer with my boy Matt Geslin, who's 3 hours away out of there on the West Coast and loving life in Portland. And how's the West Coast Thanksgiving treating you, Matt?
You know, Danny Brams, it's gorgeous out. Everyone keeps telling me how this time of year here in Portland is supposed to be gray and gloomy and the end of the world, and you'll never see the sun again. And all I've seen is sun the last a couple of days here, but It's been mainly sunny. So, yes, shout out to everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Hope everyone had some good food in them. Enjoyed some football in many varieties today. Again, just another great day in the World Cup. Thought we were going to see some upsets, some crazy finishes across the board. And again, just another example of why we are up at 5 o'clock in the morning to watch football, not 2 a.m., 5 a.m.
Yeah, so we ended yesterday's episode with me saying that I would take almost any action. I would bet my life. I'd bet my mortgage. I would stop short of betting a family member's life. That's probably the only thing I wouldn't put on the line just because they don't deserve to be brought into this. But basically, I was willing to bet anything on the idea that you were in no way, shape, or form getting up at 2 a.m. to watch Switzerland, Cameroon. Was that a winning bet?
That was a winning bet, and even that person would have had no worry whatsoever. You could have rest assured that their life would have been safe. So, no, I did not get up for that game. I caught the highlights, obviously. A single goal early in the second half, right out of the gate. Another one of those situations like we've seen throughout the tournament, Danny Brams, a team just gets caught sleeping for a few minutes and boom, it's in the back of the net. So, first way to kind of kick it off. And then unfortunately, the second game, another scoreless draw, our fourth of the tournament already to date. Only 4 in all of Russia last time out. So crazy that we're already on the first wave and we've already matched that total. And then
we were kind of spoiled for goals at the Russian World Cup, weren't we?
Absolutely. But then the back half of this day was just goals central, especially in that middle game or that third game, however you want to look at it. And then the nightcap
Portugal-Ghana was what a showdown. Yeah.
Showdown and the second half thriller.
I got to admit, I was kind of rooting for Bain to show up on that one and explode the stadium and so nobody could win, because I really those are two of the teams that I really dislike the most in world football is Ghana and Portugal. Ghana for obvious reasons as a U.S. fan, that we just have a bad history with them knocking us out of 2 World Cups in the last few decades. And then Portugal, I just never really liked. There's a few guys on this Portugal team that I like, but they tend to always have like the guys that I really don't like. I don't like Ronaldo. Don't like João Cancelo. I'm neutral on Bernardo Silva. Rafa Guerrero, Ruben Neves, please. Bruno Fernandes, So I just don't like the Portuguese. I kind of like Otavio, one of their young midfielders, and he got hurt today. So
you mentioned that in our group text, and I was surprised by that. I think I haven't never been high on Portugal. Obviously, I think there is, to your point, similarly with Ghana. Portugal has knocked us out. They obviously beat France and the Euros a couple years back for their major tournament. We've always kind of had a battle with Portugal over the years. Obviously, I'm not a huge fan of Cristiano Ronaldo as well. So that's always been kind of in the back there. And they just didn't really impress today. We can talk about the goalie situation there. Is there something that has to be done with that situation? For those that didn't see it, we'll cover that later. But they just weren't that good, Danny Brams. And then Brazil, another one at the end, kind of had a great game, dominated possession, looked like they should have won probably easier than they did. And then a golazo that, just kind of takes your breath away. So great action all around.
The Serbs made it tough on them, you got to admit. But then they also never presented any real threat whatsoever either. So it was kind of like, what are you going to do if you're Serbia? They were just trying to get out of that game alive, I think. We made history today, Matt. Today was the first ever World Cup game played on Thanksgiving, thanks to all the shenanigans that have gone on with moving this World Cup to winter and everything like that.
So, did not even think about that.
And I bring that up because there's another first, there's a first in the history of the Charlotte Soccer Show.
Okay.
And it's the first time that I am drinking, instead of drinking beer, I'm drinking vino, baby. I got some wine. I got a nice red blend here. It's a 52% Verdot, 26% Malbec, 22% Cab Sauv. I just felt like some wine. What can I say? It's Thanksgiving. It's a holiday. It's kind of like a wine kind of day. But I'm gonna do it Eddie Vedder style. I think I'm just gonna drink it straight from the bottle. So
I think you should. This has nothing to do with the biggest move of the day. One of the biggest moves of the day in the negative for you, Danny Brams does it. Dropping you out of the top 10 from the heights of second place last night.
We were going to get there.
This has nothing to do with that, correct? I just want to make sure we're not drinking for sorrow purposes here. We're drinking.
Well, as I showed, the label on this bottle is the Arsonist. Just, it's a cheap grocery store wine. But my day 5 was kind of an arsonist on the quality of my pool entry, if you will pardon the stretch for a link or a segue there.
I'll take it.
But let's go ahead and look at what you were talking about there as I bring up the screen share, because there's a lot of action in the pool, and we have another first-time winner, which I like to spread out the daily prizes. I never like when one person like racks up daily prize after daily prize, because that means they're like going to win the overall leaderboard like really easily. Yep. So that removes all the drama on the overall, which I don't like. And I like, I like to spread it out a little bit. So, I finished yesterday in what we call it, second place.
Second place. Yep.
Was feeling good. I was feeling great, in fact, but I knew it was going to be fleeting. And the Arsonist, I took 2 zeros today, I think, on my pool. We'll check that in a second. But on a day where, if you look, teams are scoring 80, 70 points, 90. Shout out to Daniel Culp.
Yep.
See it, save it. From the fantasy world with 109 points today to win our daily prize and vault himself into first place overall. I turned in 58. I couldn't even break the 60 mark on this day when everybody else was getting a ton of points. So as you can see, I'm one of the biggest fallers over here, dropping 9 spots from second all the way, plummeting out of the top 10. Just brutal.
We won't talk about who else is lower in the table either, but
you had a fall of yourself from 14th to 20th. We will talk about it. In fact,
we will. And again, not a great round. Under 60 points like yourself. You can't kind of keep that pace up. But like I said yesterday, consistency is the key. Consistently in that 50, 60 point range. We'll see. There's a long way to go, Danny Brams. But move down.
What happened? Let's just briefly check out what we got. We don't
have to, do we? Do we have to? There's a lot of zeros on that page today.
Just you had Milinkovic-Savic.
Yep.
Not even 1 point.
Nope.
You had Zakaria, didn't play. Didn't even play.
Yep.
Betancourt was actually one of the decent Uruguay picks, not the best, but he's kind of a get me over fastball there. Choupo-Moting was pretty disappointed. That's my Camerooni
he was
pick.
Definitely disappointing today.
At least you only had 1 0. Well, Milinkovic-Savic kind of a 0. You only
kind
had
of a
1
0, yeah. Kind of a 0.
I think I had 2. I had Filip Kostic, which bad research by me. I guess he just not getting a lot of love from the national team. I think they could have used him. Hopefully he'll get in the rest of the tournament.
They definitely could have used him.
And then this was the one that killed me, the Diarra, because I was huge on this guy. Georgian plays in the Brazilian league. I thought, this is a freak. He just sends crosses. He takes free kicks when he's in. So I'm like, that's the key to DraftKings is like free kicks and crosses and like chances created and shots are your main stat category. So like, it's like this guy's going to be nice. He's going to get the chances created and the crosses. Didn't even get on the pitch. And that's probably bad research by me again. I should have looked closer as to who was actually playing for Uruguay.
I am surprised, to be honest, Danny Brams, because you are pretty in the know for Latin America and lesser of the leagues to lesser extent. So I was surprised, because like you said, Brazil played today, Uruguay played today. I was expecting out of some of these lesser teams, CONCACAF teams, CONMEBOL teams, you would have dominated. But it's surprises all around, not just in your team. Again, I picked the guy that had 0 points. Can't keep up with a Daniel Culp who's racking up 109 points on a day. If you want to keep
huge
up
day.
League,
Let's check Culp's team, and all I have to say is when it comes to my failures in this pool, they were cones. What am I supposed to do? But Danny Culp, who did he have going today? He had some of his big scores for today, and he's got some. You see, he's first place overall. He got the goal from Andre Ayew. That's clutch, obviously. That was key. And Ayew turned out to be a pretty nice pick for Ghana. He got the Brazil. He got Neymar captain. That's huge. He had. Who else does this guy have? He had Valverde. Valverde was the best Uruguayan that I will double check that in a second.
And he absolutely rocketed a goal. Should have been a goal that was.
Yeah, he like shook the frame of goal. Like it was like still shaking moments later. He had Shaqiri getting assists. This is something I want to talk about because there's a really interesting phenomenon in this pool that actually blew my mind, that made me actually happy, because as an Arsenal fan, it made me happy, and we can just go there. Congrats to Culp. Your money's going to be on the way, dude. And you nailed it. Let's see so after Jared Jackson day 1, John McCann day 2, Alex Monig day 3, Ryan Fisher day 4, and now Daniel Culp, our 5th daily winner. Good for you. But if we go over to the
by the way, no repeat winner, which is quite interesting too.
Yeah,
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's what I love. If you have someone who wins like 3 or 4 or 5 daily prizes, it just removes all the drama from the overall leaderboard.
Absolutely.
So, if we go over to Switzerland on the national player scores tab, you'll see 14 people picked Granit Xhaka in the midfield as their Swiss pick, instead of and only 4 picked up Xherdan Shaqiri. So I get that, some people just like, hey, it's a World Cup pool, I'm just going to sign up and pick guys that I like and have fun. That's totally fine. You can do that. But like if you analyzed the scoring system, even if you're not a regular DraftKings player, you could have seen that like the stats that this scoring system is looking for are not the stuff that Xhaka does. You want, and Shaqiri is like a guy who's like constantly like getting chances created and things like that.
Exactly.
I'm just shocked that 3 times as many people picked Xhaka as Shaqiri. What do you think about that?
I think it's a little bit of something else that we've seen across, all of these teams here, is that a lot of folks are maybe not necessarily as versed. I mentioned this earlier. You are kind of versed in other leagues, right? Other countries, MLS or more Latin leagues. Obviously, I focus and
I follow global soccer.
You follow global soccer. Some guys are maybe just honing in on the Premier League players, and so we've seen an opportunity. Most of these teams are low, and then we saw again with Ghana, no one knew who to pick, so their roster was just spread out across, right? And so I think that's kind of part of it. And secondly, Shaqiri is now in the MLS, right? So there's also a perception of, oh, he's playing in the MLS. Granted, Xhaka is playing at Arsenal. He's starting on the number 1 team. That's got to be the pick. But you find these diamonds in the rough. A guy we talked about is Yao Felix. I'm the only one that took him, and you asked me how I figured that out, and I just said, hey, I think he's going to get an opportunity and to shine, and you gain points when you pick players that are that are not picked by everyone else, but you have to get lucky and you have to make sure that those picks are the right ones.
Right. That's the strategy, is like where do you fade the obvious pick and hope to get like a differential? I tried to do that with my French pick. I chose Griezmann over Mbappe. Not looking so good after round 1.
No, but you weren't alone in that. I mean, that's a decent enough pick where it's not a complete flyer. That's like, hey, who is this? If you weren't going to take Kingsley Coman on the French squad over the rest of that, there's always guys like that. That's kind of what you're getting at.
Pieces.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you look at Portugal, you were the only one who took Felix. Now he didn't. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out because he didn't quite outscore Ronaldo, but he kept pace with him at least, and he has the chance to shoot past him in the 3 games total. And
he lost the game. I mean,
he was the best player for sure.
He was definitely the best player. I mean, he created the chance for the penalty. So, hope he should have gotten.
You get a foul drawn point there, or actually, you don't even get a foul. Ronaldo got the foul drawn.
Yeah, exactly. So an assist. Let's call it an assist. That's not an assist for the sake of not for the game. He definitely controlled the ball in the second half. You could see he was aggressive. He got the goal, obviously. And again, he's a world-class player that just isn't getting the opportunity at his club, but on the country level, he's going to be one of the best players in his nation. So he's going to play. And so, that to me was just a no-brainer, but he'll be long-term. I think Ronaldo will be there. He'll get what he gets, penalties, free kicks, but he wasn't, as we saw at his club, he's not Ronaldo anymore. The header opportunity that he had, he blew and just kind of whiffed at it when he jumped higher than anybody. The penalty, but other than that, he wasn't really that interested in the game and didn't really flash like you would expect him to.
Yeah, he had one big chance on a breakaway early that was saved also, I thought. But You can see that's reflected. Only 5 people have Ronaldo in the pool. No people have him as a captain. Or maybe did one person have a captain? I forget. I think there's no captain in Ronaldo's. But even 3 people took Rafael Leao. So people are, when it comes to Portugal, people are already looking to the future in terms of like who the forwards for Portugal are. And Leao didn't start, but then came in off the bench and got a quick goal. So like he was able to put in some decent points. He is, he's behind Felix and Ronaldo for a Portuguese forward himself, but he kept the pace for the most part and has a chance to try to match him in future games. If you look at Fernandes, very popular Portuguese pick, and it turned out to be the right one with 21 points. And he was kind of doing nothing for a while, and then he was kind of playing in the defensive midfield. But then when it got going in the second half, when it came time to like go start, crunch time, he delivered with some really nice passes. He had a really great like weighted through ball to Felix, I believe, for the Felix goal.
Yep.
That it was really nice. The defender kind of made a mistake, but it was still like a perfect weight on the pass, which you love to see that.
Yeah.
João Cancelo, I mentioned him earlier, is like a player I hate. I was glad to see him not score too well. If you're going differential fullbacks, Rafa Guerrero 1 pick versus Cancelo's 5 picks, and Rafa outscored him by about a point. So,
and do we mention the one person that has Jose Sa and that he didn't play today? And
so that's I wish like if people were like totally locked in, that would be something I could like try to fix, but I can't really like. I almost wanted to like make a rule. Maybe the next time I run this, I'll make the rule that like instead of picking a specific goalkeeper, you just pick like I'll take goalkeeper of this country, because I hate making people like try to choose on the guessing game of like which keeper's going to get in on some of these squads. But ultimately, you have to do your own research. And Jose Sa he didn't start for Portugal. Diogo Costa did, and Costa's probably going to start every game for Portugal. So
now I have a question on that based on the game play itself, not necessarily the impact of this leaderboard in our particular pool. That game was a wild game, Danny Brams. I don't know if I'm sure you watched it. For those that didn't watch it, again, a sleepy first half, scoreless at the break, right out of the second half, just 5 goals in the second half alone, and a situation at the end of the game, Danny Brams, that I don't know if I've ever seen before in my life. Portugal gets away with it, but there's a couple other moments in there as well where Diego Costa just is like a little shaky. Do you use him in the future, do you think?
He did. That's a good point. He's like a really like popular young goalkeeper in his Portuguese league. He plays for Porto, one of the top clubs in Portugal. And so he's kind of like seen as like this young up and comer. So I think that, and there's a lot of momentum and energy behind him, trying to build him up as like a Portuguese version of like Courtois or Lloris, and I don't really see it necessarily. He is a very tall, lanky. I mean, he does have the look of like a big, strong goalkeeper, who can jump and cover corners with dives and stuff like that. But he makes a lot of mistakes, and I just think like I'm me. I love a young player. Like I'm always gonna like rate young players. I love Julian. I'm the one who's always trying to tell you Julian Alvarez is better than Erling Haaland. Although they're both young, but like I love to sort of like pick that youngster who's on the rise. But in this case, I'm just never really too impressed with Costa. If we switch over to the game tab, you can see he was rated a 6.2. And actually, if I look at, so I didn't check. If I look at Costa's scoring though, with 1 save, 2 goals allowed, and a few passes, I think I'd have to double check this. Nobody has him, so I didn't end up putting his score on the sheet. But I believe he got negative. I think he ends up with a -1 with 2 goals allowed, 1 save, and so actually Jose Sa became a better pick than
choice.
Costa. 0 is better than -1, right? So that's our boy. I'm pretty sure that's Level Up Luke, who has Sa, if I'm not mistaken, and yes, it is Jose Sa. So Level Up Luke. I know you're not loving the 0, but hey, it actually turned out to be better than if you had switched to Diogo Costa. So I think someone has a Japanese backup goalkeeper also. I'm pretty sure somebody owns Kawashima, and Gonda's the person who's probably going to be in goal for Japan. So, you know what? I wish I had the Costa Rican backup instead of Keylor Navas. So goalkeeper games can be a little dicey, but
every point counts, right? As we're seeing in the table, it's a real tight battle for points in the pool, and every point's going to add up. So yeah, I mean, 0 rather than -12 from, yesterday could make all the difference at some point.
And like you said, Costa was so shaky that they may look to the backup for Portugal in a future game when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
But would it be Jose Sa or would it be Rui Patricio? That's the thing. We don't really know which one of those two it would be if it was going to be one of them. So
now one side that we know does not have any goalie issues is Brazil. Obviously, Alisson or Ederson are both fantastic choices, but Alisson gets the start today. You can see here 6 people chose him. Pretty decent score for a goalie. You're not going to really expect that much more out of a goalkeeper, but Alisson, one of the world-class goalkeepers, gives you that stability, gives you 11 points in the first game.
11 points is decent. You get 10 for a clean sheet. You get 5 for a clean sheet, 5 for a win. So 11 means he didn't really have to do much. I think he had he probably got a foul drawn and some passes there. I'm not sure if he even made a save. Let's double check real quick. Did he even? 0 saves. He did draw a foul, which is worth 1 point. So
and obviously the big news coming out of this game, Danny Brams, hopefully none of us want to see this, but concern for the Brazilian squad with Neymar and his injury. Obviously this has big implications, not just for us, but a lot of people have Neymar here. You saw in the captain's section, he's a pretty big captain's choice. So hopefully he can come back for this pool particularly, but more importantly for Brazil, key figure, played very well today, kind of ran the field, but a huge loss if he can't go. And you feel for him at this point.
I don't know if Brazil can win the World Cup without Neymar, but I think they can get pretty far. They can certainly still win their group. I mean, they're just an absolute embarrassment of riches in talent in terms of
totally aligned with you. But unfortunately, when you come to Brazil, it's win it or none. That's true. That's the goal. That's the standard that you're set by. And he's getting down to the nitty gritty. This is the team that he is supposed to win with. He needs that World Cup. He needs that trophy. And to say that he carried Brazil to another trophy, to have another star on their jersey and say he was the one, that's what his legacy is depending on. And you hate to see it go down to an injury. Again, speculating, the team says 48 hours, they'll know. But you hope it's nothing serious and he can come back.
I personally think he's fine. He gets kicked as much or more than anybody in the game across the globe. He just gets kicked and kicked and kicked. People love to kick Neymar because they can't keep up with him and his footwork is too good. So he got kicked in the shins and the ankles probably 50 times here in this match against Serbia. And I think it was like swollen ankles or maybe a slight strain or sprain. But I think a little rest and he should be fine. We'll see.
Let's hope. And obviously nothing really too much from the Serbs. Danny Brams, I know you're not too high on them. I thought they gave Brazil a good competitive game. I don't think they were ever really expecting to flash or show anything too much to the Brazilians, other than a lot of effort and a lot of making it a tough game for them, which they certainly did. I think Brazil had to exert a lot of energy. Obviously, we talked about the Neymar injury. Any thoughts on Serbia? I personally think they could still come out of this group, as second place, but really that's what you're playing for in this group with Brazil. They're going to win the group, obviously.
Yeah, they're going to have to beat Switzerland, obviously. And I believe is that their next match? I didn't double check who plays who next in this one. Looks like the next match is going to be Serbia, Cameroon. So it'll be Brazil, Switzerland. Serbia can get themselves right if they can get a win against Cameroon. But Cameroon, I'll be honest with you. I didn't get up and watch Switzerland, Cameroon either. So I really have no idea how Cameroon looked. I saw, they got caught sleeping out of halftime, like you said, is what it looked like. So who knows how good they really are. I'm going to try to make sure I catch their next match. Here's my major thought on Serbia. I don't know if you were able to watch this one with the sound up, but did you know that Vanya Milinkovic-Savic and Sergei Milinkovic-Savic are brothers? Because they probably said it on the broadcast about 75 times. It was like they couldn't stop making reference to the fact that these two guys are brothers. It's like, all right, we get it.
I did not actually know that they were brothers until this broadcast, but I definitely will never forget now after coming out of it.
Yeah, so exactly. It's like, how could we forget? Yeah,
exactly. And Dusan Tadic, obviously, their main man that you kind of focus on, had a decent game. Dusan Vlahovic from Juventus came on in the second half as a sub.
Yeah, and he's kind of popular in the pool. If I look over here.
But he's somewhat popular.
Half. He's the second most popular Serbian pick. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
and I think they said he was a little bit. I think they said he was not quite fully fit to start for this match, but they do expect him to start potentially either next to Mitrovic if they change form or ahead of Mitrovic in the future matches against Brazil, or excuse me, against Cameroon, who they play next. I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly what the matchup is there. Like I said, I have not seen Cameroon in action, and that's you're gonna have to blame me.
And Mitrovic, obviously, a little disappointing today, coming off an injury.
He did nothing. Yeah,
did nothing. But he flashed. There were some moments. Obviously, if you watch Premier League and you've seen what he's done for Fulham over the couple of years, even though in the Championship. One thing I didn't know, Danny Brams, maybe you knew this, he has more goals in the last calendar year than Neymar and Messi combined. He had
that's crazy
60 something goals in the calendar year. And
is that for all like club and country or
no? Just for Fulham.
Just
between the championship.
Oh, just for Fulham. Okay, gotcha.
Between the Championship and the Premier League when they moved up. I mean, that's pretty impressive when you're in that category. When you're in that camp, that's pretty impressive stuff.
Or the debt collector, I like to call him. Yeah, he's Mitrovic is that guy. He looks like who shows up on your doorstep if you have outstanding debts.
Yes,
to the Russian mob. We're gonna say he's pretty intimidating looking dude. He's really tough to stop. He doesn't need much to score. He only needs a chance, but he didn't even get a chance today. Brazil just kept Serbia from having any type of threat. So
no. But Danny Brams, what else happened in the pool? I know we got into a tangent otherwise, but
we got something brand new in the pool.
Ooh.
There's a new tab on the spreadsheet, and it is the fantasy MVP race tab. If you see, you and I went through and formatted this beast ourselves right before we recorded. I've got basically this as so if everybody I was keeping track of everyone's score on the national teams and scores tab, which I'm going to continue to do, obviously. But now I've added this new tab and condensed everyone into more of like a players versus each other countries, right? So you've got, you can compare across positions and across countries and whatnot. We can see who's the captain. So this is the first like breakdown we've got of all the captain picks. You can see Messi is the most popular captain with 12. Mbappe and Neymar both captained 10 times. Vinicius 5. De Bruyne got 3, and then Eriksen and Kane. The top,
we know who's who. We know
Tottenham
who's who
there. Out there. Yeah, Captain Eriksen and Kane for sure. But so that's cool. We can list who's got the most total points. We can sort it by that. So it's kind of funny. You can see like Mbappe, the second most popular pick in the whole pool, is leading the whole scoring after one round, which is great. But then Enner, only 2 picks. Second guy, Danny Olmo, only 1 pick. Shout out Shapansky for that. Mehdi Taremi. These names, like the rest of the top 5, are all surprises to me. Valencia, Olmo, Taremi, Torres. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, Taremi kind of expected, the main man out of Iran. If you like, we've talked about, Iran's a lot better than people give them credit for. Right. I think you'll see that tomorrow when they play Wales. So just keep an eye out for that. Fernan Torres.
Taremi might score again.
He might. Fernan Torres, you do not expect him to be a brace, of course, 7-0 in that opening game for Spain. So that's kind of inflated. Will that continue? We'll see. If it does, Spain are well on their way to potentially adding another star to their jersey if that continues. So yeah, definitely some surprises here. Obviously, Lionel Messi right on the outskirts of the top 5 with an average game, and you're not too surprised by Kylian Mbappe at the top, arguably one of the best players on the planet. So
shout out Danny Olmo. Everybody else in the top 5 scored a brace to get there, but Olmo did it with just 1 goal and then a bunch of floor points. I think he did have an assist. So, or maybe he did have an assist, but that's good for him. I don't know that Danny Olmo is going to keep it up. Who of these top 5, outside of Mbappe, which of these 4 do you expect to finish with the most here from everything you've seen?
Are we saying just in the group stage or all the way through? Because I think they're 2 different.
Well, just in the group stage, yeah.
Okay. In the group stage, I would say Taremi still is going to get you some more points, a consistent amount of points. Maybe not 27 points, but he'll get you double digits. I think. I'm hopeful. He's on my team.
He's going to score against the United States.
We'll get there. I don't want to talk about that yet. We have a big game tomorrow that we have to get to in the short amount of time we have left.
Let's wrap up the episode and just talk about that because we are running a little bit short.
Yeah. Sorry.
Give me your thoughts on U.S. England.
Taremi is the one that's going to get you the most points. So of the rest of those guys, Mbappe excluded for sure.
All right. Shopping Friday. England, USA. This is the game. The most anticipated U.S. men's national team match in a decade, you would probably say.
Of all time.
I've heard people saying of all time, but yeah, it's tough to compare across eras. Give me your thoughts on this match?
I'll give you two thoughts. I'll give you the perspective of a U.S. national, and I'll give you the perspective of a football fan. I'm not sure which I want to make people feel worse with first. I'll start with the perspective of a U.S. fan. I think there is a lot of potential that we can pull this off. I think the team is the most talent that we have ever assembled for a World Cup.
I'm telling Clem Dempsey you said that.
That's totally fine. You can tell him all you want. I think the first 45 minutes of what we saw against Wales was some of the best football I've seen the United States play. Just the movement of the ball, how they possessed, how they dominated the play, to be quite honest. The second half ran out of gas. So can we continue that for 90 minutes? Can the guys stay healthy? That's the key. Now, the football perspective of me, I think we get destroyed. I don't think it's going to be much of a contest. I think the team is still young. I think England's going to dominate the midfield. Harry Maguire may start. He may not even see the ball. So I'm not, I'm concerned, Danny Brams. I'm really concerned. It just depends on how healthy that midfield is. If it's remotely close to 90, 100%, we give it a go for 60 minutes. If it's not, I think this is over early, sadly.
I think if we start Brendan Aronson, anything is possible. I love BA.
You do. You do.
The man himself.
The actual real question.
The Medford Messi, I believe that is
the nickname. The real question I have for you, I think it's the most important question for Team USA. Does Gio Reyna get the start? And if not, we've heard everything about him. He's healthy. He's 100% ready to go. From his perspective, Greg Berhalter kind of hinted that he was healthy after last game. If he doesn't play Gio Reyna in this game, Danny Brams, what is he doing?
I think Gio starts. I would count on Gio starting. I think he was saved for this match. We know that Gio is a little bit fragile. He tends to break easily if you followed his career in Dortmund, which is unfortunate because he is so mercurially talented. But I think that Greg just couldn't even even subbing him on for 5 minutes against Wales. I just think he was worried, like something might happen. Which if you're worried about him playing 5 minutes and getting hurt again, then maybe you shouldn't be playing him. But at the same time, I think it was like a save him, like break glass in case of emergency. Like if you need to have a result against England, you pull him out. And
I don't disagree with you, but if that's the thought behind this, I mean, you go into that Wales game and you get 3 points. Now, maybe he gets away with it if we held on to the win and it doesn't get talked about like it does now because we didn't win. But if you get 3 points in that Wales game, that's almost that how do you figure that this is more important of a game? Yes, the names and the history and everything that goes with these two names. But this is football. We're trying to advance. I would, if Wales is a bigger game to win than this one tomorrow, this is just for the ceremony of it. This is just to be played.
I completely agree. And all I can say is I don't really, rate Berhalter that much as a coach. We're in the cup, so I'm not going to sit here and turn this into a bitch about Berhalter fest because it does us no good. He is our coach for the next month or so, like it or not. But I don't think he'll be our coach after this World Cup. I just don't.
Yeah.
So in that regard, you just have to say Berhalter said he was asked point blank, why did Gio not play? I think like after a training session, today or yesterday, he said it was a coach's decision. So the coach made the decision. I don't think very many people agreed with the decision, but it was his decision to make. He is the coach. And so we'll see how it works out.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with you. I think, there'll be plenty of time. Hey, if we're talking about Greg Berhalter and he's listening to us and he changes his mind, I'm okay with that. So I don't think he is my point. So I don't think we'll talk about his aspect of the managerial side of things. I think he should play. I think Gio needs to play. I think to your point, the talent is there. What he brings to the team is just something different. It's just an elevation of what we have on the field right now. To your point, if he's not healthy, don't bring him. Just say he's not healthy. But if he's healthy, you got to play him. And I don't understand why not. And so it sounds to me like you're a little bit concerned about how tomorrow goes if he does play or if he doesn't play. Is that accurate?
Shared your concern as like a realistic football fan and all that, soccer fan. If you don't like the football usage, we apologize. This is an American show after all, but and I know the talent that's coming at us. I do think we're going to see a drastically different tactical game plan. Whereas we sought out to take the game to Wales right off the bat, I'm not sure we can afford to do that against England. I think we'll see a much more conservative, park the bus and counter type of lineup, which again, that's a Brendan and Aronson style game. So get him in there for that for sure. He's someone who only needs like himself and one other teammate to spring a counter that can be effective. Aronson and Way can create a goal out of nothing, even if we're playing defense at the time. So, and Pulisic can too. But here's the deal. I keep drinking this wine. I keep swigging this wine, Eddie Vedder style, and
you feel better every time. I'm
feeling better about our chances, baby. Yeah, like all of a sudden, every swig I take, it's like, well, Sterling doesn't really. He's fast, but he doesn't have much finishing.
Right.
It's like Saka and Bellingham. They're young. They're not really going to be able to handle our veteran Tim Ream on the back line. Making him look silly. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm really looking forward to watching the match.
Do you feel how do you feel about Serginho Dest on the right-hand side? Is that a concern for you, or are you comfortable with what he provides offensively? To your point, if the match is more shell kind of defensive mode, are you more comfortable with someone like a Joe Scally playing out there, or even a DeAndre Yedlin with a little bit more defensive experience?
You beat me to the punch. I'm actually going to predict, you can call this a crazy prediction, but I predict that Yedlin starts in place of Dest tomorrow.
I don't think that's crazy. I think I agree with you. I thought he should have started in the first game, to be honest. I think he's just too much of a liability. Dest on the right now, and tomorrow's going to get exposed.
Serginho took a little bit of a knock last game, and even though Yedlin is thought of as kind of like a speedster, a speedy fullback, he's actually at this stage of his career, a little longer in the tooth than he used to be a couple World Cups ago. He's actually more of kind of like a get stuck in fullback these days. And so I think there's a really good chance. I don't really know who Greg Berhalter considers the better defender between Scally and DeAndre, but I just think whoever he wants, I think it's going to be a rotation for defense in that spot. I think Dest will be out, and then I'm predicting Yedlin because I know Yedlin's game more than I know Scally's.
Sure.
If Scally's better, then I'll welcome seeing Scally there too. But if we think he's the better defender, like taking on Sterling and holding off that wing, but I just don't see Dest playing in this game.
Me neither. I mean, unless it's close in the second half, we're down 1-0 or something, and Greg wants to go for it and try and get that equalizer, maybe. But I agree with you. I don't think we see him this game. Maybe the last game against Iran, where we know what we need to do. We need to put some balls in the net, things like that. So, give me a scoreline though, Danny Brams. Let me hear what your thoughts are for tomorrow.
As good as Tyler Adams was in the first game against Wales, he needs to be even better against England. If Adams can control the midfield, we get out of here with a 0-0 draw. We hold England scoreless. We park the bus, and Turner makes a wonder save or two. We pull it off. 0-0 draw. Moving on. Go beat Iran in advance.
I like it. I'll take 3-1 England. But I'll see.
You need some of this wine, brother.
I'll see your 0-0 draw, but I see 3-1 England. Danny Brams, thank you.
What I'm looking for. Do you remember when we tied England 1-1 a few World Cups ago?
I do.
What was it? I believe 2010.
Yeah, I do believe.
I'm mistaken. That. And the newspaper headline the next day was U.S. wins 1-1.
It was a sad day.
U.S. wins. U.S. wins 0-0 tomorrow.
It was a sad day for football in this country, Danny Brams. Danny Brams, pleasure as always, my friend. I will definitely be texting you during the game. Enjoy the wine. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and thank you as always for listening. We will be back tomorrow, and until then,
for the turkey, baby.